Alright, what's up guys? It's Daniel West here, and welcome to my very first YouTube video. Now, I've played Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag 3 times on 3 separate platforms and 100%ed it every time, so let's just make it clear that yes, this is my very favorite game of all time. Loved it on every experience. I'm playing it on PC currently, and I thought, why not use some of the tips and tricks that I've learned over the many hours I have on this game to share with everybody else. So, here's what I'm going to start off with. So, to begin, obviously I've 100% the game, so it's very difficult to kind of show you what it looks like at the beginning, but I'll explain it as best as I can. To start off with, I'm going to show you guys an example of what what I think would be really handy for you guys to start off with. So, at the beginning of the game, when you're going to the first location, which is Cape Bonavista. See if I can show that. Can. So this is your first location here. It's called Cape Bonavista. So that's when you essentially start the game. And I'm not going to spoil any story aspects, so I just want to make sure that you guys are aware of that. There's 16 treasure chests here. And then your next location that you go to is Havana, which is one of the main cities. This is another big place, and there's 20 treasure chests here, plus 6 assassin contracts. I would strongly suggest grabbing all the treasure chests here and the treasure chests here and doing all the assassin contracts the second you can. And why I suggest that is because with all that money that you do get, you can buy essentially the only 2 things that you need for the rest of the game, in my humble opinion. Now, I've bought everything, but the ones you want to get are these, the officer rapiers. They go for about 12,500 or maybe 14,000 reals in the shop. These are the only swords you really necessarily need for the whole game. They're the fastest, they do decent damage, and they're just overall the best, in my opinion. You can button mash the hell out of them and have a great time. There's nothing that comes close, in my opinion. You can get the French court swords, they're good too. They're a bit cheaper, but I recommend just getting the best to start off with, and then you're set for the rest of the game. You don't need to touch your weapons. Same for the pistols. Now, the ones you want again are the Spanish officer pistols. These are just a nice, easy mid-range pistol that will get the job done all the way until you get the best pistols in the game, which are these. And yeah, these will do for just fine. They're about 7,000, 8,000. So you need about 20,000 reals to start off with. You might think that's a lot, but through all the treasure chests and doing the assassin contracts, you will find you actually have the money to do so, provided you don't buy anything else in the meantime. So try to avoid that. Now, the other thing that I really wanted to point out, and this is a good time to be at a general store, is you don't actually need to hunt to craft Edward's upgrades. And the reason why I want to go into that is because, as you can see here, where are we? Okay, Edward doesn't have, crafting, sorry. As you can see, so you need a certain animal and a certain thing that you get from said animal, like a bone or a pelt or a hide or whatever, to actually unlock it. This is how you actually get upgrades for Edward. So your health, your pistol ammo pouch size, your smoke bomb pouch size, etc., etc. And a lot of people think you actually need to hunt these animals to actually get said upgrades. And some of them are hard to find, like a black jaguar, that's only found at a couple of locations around the whole map. Same with great white sharks. Crocodiles are pretty easy, but yeah, ocelots, jaguars, it's actually very difficult. However, if you go to any general store, you will see that you can buy hunting goods. So you can literally buy the necessary amount of any pelt that you need for any upgrade that you need with reals. Now, don't get me wrong, some of them are going to be quite expensive. 6,000 reals, 5,000 reals, but money is a lot easier to get than some of these pelts. I can tell you that for a fact. So if you're finding yourself like you can't be bothered going hunting anymore, just save up enough money and head to a general store and buy the pelts, and then you can craft them that way. It's a lot easier. And again, speaking of reals, yeah, the assassin contracts are going to be your best friend. You can get, I think it's about 1,000 reals as a base, and I'm pretty sure you can get an additional 500 if you don't get detected. And that's where the pistols are amazing. So the reason why the pistols are so good is you actually have decent range with them, and all you have to do is just shoot your target in the head and run and run for safety. Essentially, you don't need to actually do a proper assassination on them. You just have to just pop them in the head and run, and then you will get that no detection bonus because you weren't detected up until you killed them. So those pistols are a godsend for the assassin contracts. So yeah, there's 6 here. There's a few at some other locations as well. Yeah, there's 2 at most of the R locations, like the smaller settlements. So you get plenty of money there. And you also get money from naval contracts, which are also at each of the forts, which require your ship. Now, speaking of the ship, once you get the Jackdaw, this is kind of where people kind of just try to power through straight to the main missions and get them all done. Because I've 100% of this game so often, I disagree with that. And I kind of like to be overpowered in the main missions just because it's more fun for me. So I like to do all my upgrades before going to main mission. Now, when you get the Jackdaw, it costs a lot of money to upgrade the Jackdaw, like many, many thousands of reals. And what you want to focus on when you're going out into the world, let's see if I can find a good example of said ship. Hopefully I can for you guys. That would be handy. All right. Perfect. So obviously this is a big example. This is a very extreme option. But you look for ships that are carrying rum and sugar exclusively. Reason being, rum and sugar sell for the most at the Harbour Master, so you'll obviously want to make up for that. So that's what I would strongly suggest, is just look for money ships. In particular, high-level schooners. So level 11 schooners are the highest leveled schooners in the game. They carry, yeah, about 70 materials total. And that can be across sugar, rum, whatever. They make you good money for very little effort because they're the easiest ship to sink, and they're super duper easy for that reason. So I would strongly suggest focusing on high level schooners to start off with, depending on the location, to get up as much money as you can. Just kill as many of them as possible, grab as much rum and sugar as possible, and then just go from there. Now, in terms of what to focus on after you got the money, is obviously the upgrades. You need a ton of metal and wood for your Jackdaw upgrades, and obviously the metal's probably the hardest to find, and it's a bit annoying to deal with because there's a lot of metal involved. What I would suggest is high level brigs. That is a perfect example right there. Level 25 brigs are the highest brig levels in the game. They can carry up to 130 metal for just one brig, and they're relatively easier to take out than a frigate. So yeah, literally just these guys, just these 2 here, is 260 metal, and that's a very easy amount of metal to grab, and you're sorted super quickly. And then you're done. Essentially, that's what I would start off with. And as you get stronger and you get more confident, then you start going for the high-level frigates, and you start going for the man of wars, which obviously give you even more gear. Now, once you've got medium upgraded ship, but like I'd say like in the middle of all these, like a reinforced or an advanced set of anything of all the upgrades here, that is, in my opinion, where you should just unlock the whole map in terms of the forts. So if you don't unlock the forts, all of these areas will be restricted. You'll get attacked by ships the second that you go into their water space. They'll detect you, they'll get mad, and then like everyone's in the area is going to be annoyed at you. The second you unlock the fort, you don't even have to 100% it, but the second you take a fort, this whole area is no longer restricted. It is technically pirate water space now. You don't actually need to stress about enemy ships attacking you unless you attack first. So that just makes traveling around this map and visiting locations so much less stressful and more relaxing, particularly down the south here. Without spoiling the story, one part of the travel that you must do is going from here all the way to one of the locations on this side. And going through either up or below, it doesn't matter. All these forts will detect you, all these forts will shoot at you, and all the ships in the area will also shoot at you. And that's a pain. No one wants it. That's just annoying. So, while on the way to do that, I would strongly suggest taking every single fort on the way. Trust me, it might be a bit stressful to begin with, particularly some of these harder areas, as you can see up the top. Their forts are strong. I'm not gonna lie. They're difficult, but just hit them with the fort, keep moving, hit them with the mortar, sorry, and then just keep moving, and I think you'll be okay. Takes a bit of practice, but yeah, having all the forts just so much easier. It gives you an extra fast travel point as well. And the forts actually shoot for you if you're under attack near one of your forts. They'll shoot on your behalf and they'll give you a hand, which is pretty handy for sure. Now, the next thing. Again, not trying to spoil story missions, but you'll get access to these underwater objectives. And I'll quickly give you an example of what they look like. I'm not going to actually do it because I've already completed all the objectives. But you'll get access to what's called a diving bell, which in this game of total realism, it's hilarious, enables you to go all the way down to the seafloor and to loot shipwrecks. So you'll get this cool cutscene. Edward will dive in. Again, how his ears don't pop and just implode his body, I will never know. But yeah, you'll get to one of these underwater wrecks, and they have very important items in them. They have the elite upgrades for the Jackdaw. Let me just get that up. So all these elite upgrades, you can only upgrade them if you have the plans to do so. And almost all of the plans are located in these shipwrecks. Some of them are way harder than others to find. Some of them are way easier than others. It just depends on the shipwreck that you're going to. But you will need to visit all of them to get all the elite upgrades to max out your Jackdaw. They can be difficult. As you can clearly see, there's sharks in this location. And they will attack me very quickly. There's also eels hidden amongst those green locations, and there's also jellyfish, which can do damage to you. So, it can be a little bit stressful, but I promise you, it is worth it to get all the elite upgrades. So the second you get access to this, again, I would suggest going around the entire map and just grabbing all the elite plans. You don't need to max out the Jackdaw just yet if you don't want to, but just grabbing all the plans. Again, if you're not trying to 100% the game, you don't have to stay down there for that long. You just have to find the chest and then get the heck out of there. It really doesn't matter too much if you're not trying to 100% to grab all the chests and to get all the fragments and all that. I did it because I just like 100%ing these games. That's another tip for you. Now, once you've got all the elite upgrades, again, because we're trying to actually enjoy having a maxed out ship before we get to the end of the game, which is what a lot of people don't do. They do the opposite. I see no point in that. Like, what's the point of having a really good ship and not using it? Because you'll get bored the game once you finish the main story. That's just how it usually goes. The legendary ships. Now they're in the four corners of the map, and I'm not going to spoil the actual combat because it's really hard. Well, it's not all of them, but they can be really intense for the novice, which is always fun. But yeah, there's 4 legendary ship battles in each corner, and defeating all of them will get you an attack. An actual attack that you can use to take down ships. And again, you wouldn't use that if you weren't here. If you weren't actually playing the game yet. So again, I see no point in actually doing the legendary ship battles if the ship isn't being utilized anymore. There's no point. So yeah, I would strongly suggest that. And another point of contention that I would like to point out is there's these side objectives called Templar contracts. If you do all the Templar contracts, you'll get access to an armor set, which is quite good in terms of reducing damage. And again, they're just really good stories again. So again, do those before the end of the game. You can take advantage of having better armor and also enjoying the story. In my humble opinion on these games, the main story should be the end of the game. Like, that's it. You just uninstall the game. If you can do all the side objectives before that you want to do, I would suggest that, because it just means there's more finality. You know, there's not like, oh, I gotta do more. Anyway, just a bit of a ship battle going on around here. But yes, you've got all of this to enjoy. And now, here comes the nerdiest part of this tips and tricks guide that I've got here. Strap in, ladies and gentlemen. This is where it gets very try hard. And again, you don't need to know about this, but I thought, since, you know, I'm channeling my biggest black flag nerdiness and knowledge for the video, that I would do this for you. So let me just move over here. Actually, I need to be on the ship. Whoops. Silly me. All right, let me hop in the back. Alrighty. So again, at the end of a story mission, you'll get access to what's called the Kenway's fleet. Now, the Kenway fleet is a passive way of making money. So essentially what happens is you send out ships along these trade routes and they will make you money. As you can see down the bottom right-hand corner, they can make you 100 reals, you know, they can make you 3,500 reals, but that takes 24 hours to complete. So this will happen in the background, even if the game's off. Like, as long as you're connected to the internet, this will continue to happen while the game's off, and you can come back whenever and you can get a nice amount of money. Now, as you do more of these, more of the actual trade routes will open up. So then you'll have this whole network here. And some of them, as you can see, are less dangerous than others. And the better the ships you have, the more success percentage-wise that you have. Now, here's where it gets nerdy. If you want to have the best ships for your fleet, like the ones I have here, these are the best ships that you can pretty much get for their categories. You will need to get a maximum hunted rating. So when you get up to Mischief, and you'll see that red and black skull and crossbones in that top left-hand corner, that is a hunted level. At every level, you'll get different categories of ships coming out try to sink you. You will actually want to get to the highest level possible, and a level 60 man of war, the highest level in the game naturally spawning, will come to try and sink you. Now, because you've already done all your elite upgrades, right? You definitely have. No, I'm kidding. You should be able to sink this and board him and take it for yourself. And you can get yourself all manner of different names. I dislike these names personally, but they all come with different names. But these are the best for cargo space. They're the best for firepower. So let's say if we're going all the way down to South Africa, you need 70 cargo space. Frigates don't have that. Some man of wars don't have that. You will actually find that only some man of wars will actually do the necessary amounts for you. So that's just something to keep in mind, is that some ships just won't have enough space to take on. Like, look at this, 80 space. You need 80 resource space in order to complete this. Only 2 types of man of wars can actually complete it. One of them is the level 49s that you can find in the Serenia region, which I'll show you in a second. The other one's the level 60s. And the level 60s are easier to get because you can just make up some mischief and then it'll come and sink you. It will come and try to sink you. And they will keep spawning as well. That's another thing I wanted to mention. Every time that you fast travel somewhere, you fast travel to a fort, your hunted ships will respawn to try and sink you again and again and again. So as long as you don't actually pay off that hunted level, what you can essentially do to get up your fleet to be as strong as possible is fast travel to a fort, sink the level 60 man of war, and then just fast travel to another fort and sink another level 60 man of war, and so on and so forth until you have like 7 of them, I'd probably say. And then, yeah, then you're pretty much sorted. So then you can send these big ones on the really tough spaces, and you can save your frigates, which are faster but less firepower and cargo space. You can save these guys for the smaller runs, if you even need to send them on smaller runs. And this is, again, where it gets quite interesting. So the thing about the frigates, and again, I hope I can kind of show this a bit, at least try to. Because again, we're getting very in depth here, so I just want to apologize in advance. And 90% of this, the average player will not care about. You're probably thinking, then why are you doing it? Like, what's the point? Because it's my channel, and I'm embracing my inner nerd for this game, because that's what I am. All right, perfect. See these frigates here? They're level 29. Now, frigates can go from level 23 to 29, and then all the way up to a level 38 frigate, which are obviously the most difficult to sink. Now, you might think that a level 38 frigate has better stats in the fleet. You would be surprisingly wrong. The level 29 frigates have the same stats in terms of firepower, speed, and space as the level 38s. So you can actually get away with just, taking on these guys here, which are way easier, and get the best frigates for the fleet. You don't need to actually go to find level 38 frigates if you don't want to. I do, purely just because I'm a tryhard, and in my brain, I want the strongest ships, even if they're not actually. Now, let's see if we can find one. Yep, there's one. So the frigates in this area are all level 38, and they're nice and strong. Now, that really doesn't matter. Level 29s will do the same job in the fleet. But yeah, this is just purely for my own happiness that they're there. But here's a perfect example of a money-making ship for a frigate. 117 sugar, 54 rum. That is about a 2,000 and something real sell once you've taken this ship off. Once you've taken the ship out. So that is why... And there's another perfect example. Great, I'm so glad I could show this. This schooner, when you're really early in the game, 70 rum and 20 sugar. That's, again, a very high amount of reals for a very little effort. So these are the kind of ships you want to focus on. Now, these ships are good, for sure, but they're also a bit harder to sink. So just keep that in mind. Now, was there anything else that I could think of in the meantime? Wouldn't say so. I think those are just good general tips that I think for now will do the job. Again, I'm not trying to spoil the story, so I don't want to talk about like doing optional objectives and main missions and things like that. That's not really what I'm all about. That's not really how I like to play the game. In terms of like I don't want to ruin the game for people. So yeah, that's just something to keep in mind. So I think that should be everything. And I do hope you've enjoyed the tips and tricks. And if you ever see this video, I appreciate you watching even a little bit of it to get some knowledge. And yeah, I will end it on that, I think. Appreciate you all for watching. I'll probably see if I can release one about Assassin's Creed Odyssey as soon as possible. But for now, I will end it there. Peace out.